So this is a video I wasn't really intentionally planning to do due to it being personal and based on the nature of the topic. But then again, I thought to myself, a lot of people are going through this and there is a lot of misconception about what depression is, and I figured this is going to be a really important video with a serious tone, and it's something I have to do. So let us begin by talking about what exactly depression is. So, depression is the most common form of mental illness out there worldwide, and it affects many people, regardless of your race, regardless of religion, your ethnicity, your gender, your age, your status, whether you're rich or poor. Anyone can develop depression. So, it's kind of like a monster. You don't know who's going to get it. It's not like one person doesn't get it, another person gets it. You never know. And there are many reasons why people get it, and at different intensities. Some people it might be less, it might be a few like days throughout, just a low mood. While other people of the other spectrum can be almost at the edge of life where they want to commit suicide, or it's just horrible, it's like hell. So there's different things, but it is a very serious and real thing, and that's what I'm going to get deeper and deeper through this video as I go on. So a very common misconception I wanted to address is that often people regard depression as common sadness or common boredness or boredom. You need to stop being bored, stop being, sad and all. Pick yourself up and move on with life. But to a depressed person, that's not how it works. It's just not plain sadness. I mean, sure, down the road of life, life is not smooth. We have little bumps, and sometimes we have big bumps which really throw us down. But for most people, might grieve over it a few hours, maybe a few days, a day or something. But we eventually get over it and move on with our life. But for depression, it doesn't work like that. It kind of feels like an internal endeavor. Sure, I mean, some people might have it for a few weeks, a few days. Some people might have it for months, but there's that sense that it's always with you. It's not like you get over it and you move on, it's gone. No, it's like it always stays in the back of your mind. It's pretty serious. And next, I'll discuss what depression feels like. So, what does depression feel like? Well, I would say a really good analogy to put forth is depression imagines like a huge mountain that's been weighed down on you and it's crushing you down all the time. And it's not something you can easily lift off. It's not like a little stone, it's like a mountain. And it's always there wherever you go. Sometimes you're able to hold it up, other times it's just crushing you down to the point where you can't really bear it. And the worst thing is, it often makes a person who has depression feel hopeless, even though out of no reason. You feel hopeless and just horrible inside. I mean, really horrible. You lose interest in stuff you used to do. Like, let's say you had hobbies, you start doing them, you don't feel like doing them anymore. You just completely lose interest. You liked friends, you don't want to see them for no reason at all. Things you enjoyed, you just don't feel like doing anything. You become numb, and over time, and depending on how severe it is, you might even feel thoughts of killing yourself or suicide. And that's where it becomes even more serious. And we're all just horrible. Life becomes non enjoyable. It's numb or it's horrific. It's kind of like a living hell. And the worst part is, most people don't even see it that way. They just see it as sad, which even adds more or greater damage to that effect. And the person just suffers really greatly and without knowing. It's like an invisible hell that only you go through and other people don't really notice. But honestly, a lot of people do go through it and notice it. And some might even go through worse things than you're going through right now. So understand that you're not alone. So the reason I feel I have any credibility talking about depression is because I firsthand have experience with it. It's something I suffered with, and still to a certain extent I'm still dealing with or even struggling with to a certain degree to this day. So I really know what's going on. I really know how it feels like. And hopefully maybe some of you can relate to the things I'm going to discuss. And Being that said, there are a lot of people who go through much worse. And unfortunately, I knew a few people, wouldn't say too many, but that have sadly ended their life. You know, either they hang themselves or much worse, just ended their life. It's really horrible. So it does have, some personal meaning to me and myself. So it's kind of a difficult thing to talk about, but I feel that it's important, like I said. So with depression, like I said, it ranges from slight unhappiness all the way to just suffering and great despondency, almost in a state of despair throughout the whole life. And it goes on. Some days, you feel a little better, like you're able to manage it. Other times, it's a complete train wreck where you're kind of dealing with your own existence, so to say. And I wanted to give you my own kind of experience, what depression kind of feels for me, for a maybe typical day to a more severe day. Now, for me, I would say depression doesn't always happen because of something stressful or tragic. Some days you simply wake up and you feel horrible throughout the whole day for no reason at all. You don't feel like doing anything. And it's not that type of feeling where you just wake up, you're bored, you don't feel like doing anything because you might be lazy. This is kind of different. You don't feel like living at all. See what I'm saying here? So instead of doing something stupid, you feel like going back to bed. It's a different type of thing where you're just tired because you didn't get enough sleep. This is kind of like even if you're up and awake, you're walking around, you don't feel like doing anything. You just feel like you just go back to bed and then that's it. Forget about your existence. You have nothing to do. Everything you start doing, whether you're trying to make breakfast, it almost feels like the hardest thing. From brushing your teeth, just walking around. It takes a lot of effort just to get simple tasks done time to time. And I mean anything. It's not just like, well, I'm tired of work, so I don't feel like going there today. I do it every day. It's much different than just normal tasks. Everything becomes start questioning what is the point of this? Why am I even here? You just hate your life in sort of numbness type of way. It's like this horrible regret out of nowhere, even though you might have many good things, like say you have a place to live, you have food to eat, but you just can't even appreciate things. That's what makes it horrible. It makes everything just negative, and on top of that, it's almost kind of like a sick feeling. Depending, some days you wake up, you just feel sick overall, like you're gonna throw up for no reason. You just rather stay in bed the whole day. It's not like a sickness, like you get ill, you have a temperature. It's more like when you ride in a car and you feel nauseous for no reason. So you walk around, try to do things, but it doesn't seem to help. And then there's like this, imagine like a really dark cloud or something just hovers over you and just like engulfs you fully to like a sense of like hopelessness, kind of like a spirit of despair, so to say. Like so much that it hits you inside so hard, like you have to either close your eyes, just go to sleep or something, because you feel like ending your life. So instead, what you would do is just go to bed, forget about everything. So you wake up and you don't exist anymore, type of feeling, or unless, or until I would say that you can get over it. And usually, sometimes that what happens. I have to go to bed and just try to forget about everything, just to help clear my mind out, which really makes it horrible. There's always like this feeling of hopelessness, so you do nothing but maybe sit silently and try to do nothing, almost become nothing. So you fight these feelings. It's kind of like these thoughts and all these things gather up into like a whole army, and dealing with it, it becomes unbearable. You lose appetite, and anything you try to do, to cheer yourself up, it doesn't seem to even help. So maybe you might watch a movie or something you enjoyed before, it doesn't help. And it just makes it really hard to do anything, even to help yourself. That's what ends up even more suffering. That's what leads to that hopelessness. You're in a situation where you can't even help yourself, you can't do anything. And sometimes the only thing you do is just sleep, or just numb yourself down, so at least you won't do something stupid and end your life. Well, that's at more severe parts. And also, you feel a lot of weakness. Not from like, you train the day, or you're tired from the day before, just out of nowhere, you feel really tired. achy, sick. It's a really horrible feeling, kind of like I said when you're ill. And throughout the whole day, you feel, you lose kind of purpose in everything. You don't feel like doing anything but maybe just sit down and stare at a wall until you pass out. So, you know, and other times you might feel a sense of panic, so to say, when even there's no apparent danger. So almost kind of like this mix of feelings, like all these negative emotions and feelings a person might have, all put in together in one, while at the same time being numb to all the emotions. And that is the reason why many people start hurting themselves, because they feel so numb inside. They want to feel at least something, that they're kind of alive, because it feels like you're already not living, so you're dead. And it goes more tragically, and that's why people end their lives, unfortunately. Because once you think of it, no one really wants to end their life because it's fun. It's a lot of time just to end their suffering so they can have a moment of peace. That's how bad it is. So maybe that, for people who don't know, can kind of understand where all that's coming from. That, they say life just much really hard to bear. That's the only thing you feel. That's the only option. Maybe you can just end your suffering. You really don't feel like living, so why suffer? So, but there's always a silver lining at the end, and you have to kind of strive to give that hope. And see, like a lot of times when people have illness or something, they say, "Well, I'll get better eventually," but you don't get better. You see, you wake up the next day, you feel the same way, and no matter what you do, it's not like you take something and you feel better all of a sudden. Sometimes things make it worse. So really, it's something you have to deal with. But over time, I've developed some techniques that might help out. Now, oftentimes I also feel the thing that really pushes people down who have depression is their inability to change their current situation. And a lot of times that's how I notice many people get into depression in the first place. So you lose someone either close to you, or let's say you lose a house, or you have debt. There's a lot of stress that comes up to it, and you see how it relates. It feels like it's that certain level of hopelessness. You are attached to a person. Now that person is gone, so what are you with that life? It kind of feels like depression, a huge part of you has been taken out of you. So you kind of dealt with suffering. You don't know how you're going to live or manage with yourself afterwards. So sometimes it could be a tragic event, or just a lot of stress that accumulated throughout the years goes worse and then just slides into a direction where your body cannot function with itself, so to say. And not only is it just like emotionally and physically, not only emotionally, you just feel inside. It's something physically. You feel tired, you feel nauseous, and it might make you do something really stupid. It's almost like a parasite that controls your mind to a certain degree, and you fight with it. It's like it's best way to say it, it's a constant battle within your own self. There are many battles, but this is a certain special type. It's like you're fighting a whole army, like a whole mountain inside yourself. So it makes it difficult, and many times you get hit, meaning you're facing like a war inside eventually. It's like an inner battle and no one knows about it. So, you shouldn't really judge. Now, in my case, I deal with it sometime like maybe a few days out of each week. That's how it is. Most days I'm able to manage it. Other days just really beat me down, and I have to really struggle to overcome it to a certain point, and I'm not always able to do that. At my worst, I had about, I would say, close to 2 months of this type of feeling, and I didn't really know how long I could bear or how long I can keep going with it. But luckily, somehow I managed. While other people, they suffer through many months, and some people even years. And I really, I sympathize to those people, and anyone who's suffering with this, I can really relate. And the thing is, I can't really explain this feeling completely. So I'm trying to give you like a vague description, but inside it's a lot worse. And I can only imagine how much worse people have it much worse, or suffer even greater, how much they're suffering inside. A lot worse than mine. So in ways, I can understand. So now I wanted to give some symptoms of a person who has depression, or if you're unsure if you have depression or not, maybe I'm going to list these symptoms and see if they apply to you. If a few or all of them apply to you, then most likely you have depression. So I'll begin with going through the list. The first change is you have abnormalities in your eating patterns. So you notice you're either eating a lot less, you're eating a lot more. So you could be losing interest in eating, so you're kind of sustaining yourself from eating, or you're overeating, kind of like binge eating. That could be a first sign. 2, a very common sign is a loss of interest in friends, in hobbies, and things that you once enjoyed. You just have a disgust or like total distance from them. You don't feel like doing them at all. If you start, you get bored right away, and it's just disinteresting to you, and you don't know why. Number 3 is you're very irritable or you get angry. So sometimes the slightest thing might tick you off, kind of like a landmine, so to say. So sometimes a little argument can make you flip out, so to say. You get very angry easily. So 4th sign I would say is you have headaches and you kind of feel tired all the time. Now it could be many things. It could be migraines, it could be other symptoms, but for depression it is also one of the symptoms. So if it relates to the symptoms I said before, so first one, like loss of appetite, loss of interest, if that includes with it, most likely it contributes to the depression rather than another illness. Now, 5th sign is you have trouble concentrating and you have trouble memorizing. Or sometimes you might speak slowly, so you're like, then you talk like that, or you speak much more slowly, so to say, slower than usual, or so overall you read a book and you can't understand it. You read it and you have to reread it again, like what's going on. But normally you could concentrate, so losing focus or memory, or you have trouble remembering, that could be another big symptom. And the last and the one that's most obvious is you have pessimistic thoughts. So, just like really negative thoughts overall. Like how life sucks, you're moping, so to say, and you have thoughts of suicide where you don't want to live. That's pretty much a big indicator, but in conjunction to everything else. It could be just, you had a bad day, so you don't feel good. But when you have all these other symptoms combined, so most of these symptoms, then likely that's what depression is. So now that we addressed the symptoms, let's begin by saying what are the causes that cause these symptoms. Now, the first one is very obvious, is a stationary lifestyle, which many people have. And pretty much that means is you don't work out, you don't exercise, you don't even get movement. So you're always in a chair, you're on a couch, and a lot of jobs are like this. You wake up, you drive your car, you're sitting again. You sit at work, you sit in a car to get back home, then you sit on your computer all day, then you sleep. And most times people don't really get any exercise at all. And of course, that's like more vivid expression, but anytime you're not getting at least an hour, maybe 30 minutes of physical activity daily, that could be walking included, not just you have to vigorously exercise, but anything. You're just stationary. That's what it means by that. So that could be the first cause, and that's a cause to many illnesses. Pretty much stationary and diet change are always, those are like the two wings of a dying eagle that leads to a lot of health problems and a whole range of problems. Being indoors too much, which also follows a stationary lifestyle, because most of us, we're not sitting outside. We're usually sitting inside, and what happens is we don't get enough sunlight. That's the first thing. We don't get vitamin D from the sunlight. But second of all, we don't get good quality air, because a lot of times the windows are closed. We're not breathing in, good fresh air outside from the trees. And those things are needed. Fresh air regulates, goes through your blood, it makes you feel better. It oxygenizes your blood, refreshes it. and helps you combine with light. And also when you're outside, when you see trees naturally green, it helps produce some chemical reactions that make you feel better just being around. And those of you who did this before, you might notice if even right now you can say, well, you're sitting at home, whether if you're in a park or in a forest and you're surrounded by trees, you automatically feel better. So there's a big correlation. Just being outside already, it's going to be a big step in healing. But being indoors, it's a really big cause for depression and many other problems. Another cause is malnutrition, which is usually not talked about, but see, it's related to your diet. And usually when your brain does not get certain nutrients and minerals in your brain, that can itself lead to depression. And even though you might notice, if you don't get something to eat or that, you have this low mood. Now you can kind of relate how that can be for a person with depression. When their brain is not getting the right nutrients it needs, the brain's gonna protest. So if you're malnourished and you have a void of key nutrients, and especially over a long time, so if you're eating, diets that are empty, like empty calories, like I said in my previous videos, you're not getting what you need. Pretty much you're not eating, you're just kind of feeding calories so your body don't die, but your body doesn't get anything else. And that's how you get illnesses, many sicknesses. Because your body has nothing to work with except calories, just helps it burn off. But it's not giving health. You kind of understand what I'm saying here. Stress or a traumatic event. Now, of course, there are very serious things, like somebody might have been abused or sexually abused as a child, which leads to a lot of trauma, or they might have been neglected, bullied. Many things can lead to a tragic event. Or let's say you were in a house fire, or maybe you lost your family. Well, these are more extreme cases, but anything can be tragic. A tragic event that kind of stays with you. Or years of stress that accumulate and it can become depression. That's why it's a big cause of depression. Lastly is an overwhelming stimulus to negativity. And that includes negative people, those people that kind of always weigh you down when you're trying to rise or become happier. They're always like a thorn in your side, kind of like this negative energy. Even being around them, you see people are like a sponge, kind of like a child. Every time you're around something, you absorb it. So the people you hang out with, you're gonna become, whether you like it or not, even subconsciously, you're gonna start acting like them. If you're around negative people, they're gonna obviously have an effect on you. Now, being negative stimuli, I would say that includes your environment. So if you're in a toxic environment, that includes if you're smoking, you're drinking, other things, you can say substances. Or even being exposed to information, like much on the internet nowadays, when you read most of the news, it's negative. And the way the world works, the more you find out about it, the more you see how horrible it is. And that's kind of the reality. Now that can lead you, but you see, if there's too much of it, so even information or knowledge should be, used in moderation. So you learn a little, but you don't take it off. Because if you expose yourself to the world really quickly and too soon, you can see how bad it is, or all the negative things will build up in you, and then you might not be able to overcome it. So try to limit, or even better, just don't watch the news and try to limit yourself to negative news and negative sensitivity. We all know the world is negative, and many things they don't even affect you personally. What happened throughout the world? Someone died, something this. Yes, it's bad, but does it really affect you personally? Well, if you pay too much attention to it, then it will affect you personally. And kind of being in the sphere of all this negativity, the environment, people, news, and you're bombarded. I mean, look everywhere, just negativity, negativity, negativity. And there's so much your psyche can handle before you break down. You go crazy or just depressed, so there's any way. Kind of see it's like the sphere, you can go any way you want. So you have to be careful with that. That, I feel, is another really major case. And you can kind of relate to what I'm saying based on the way you see the world. Now, if you take all those causes and symptoms and you wear society like a glove, you can kind of see why there's a rise in depression and all this negativity. Now, of course, we have to look at what kind of job do most people have. Most people have stationary jobs. Either they stand, it's a little better than sitting, but most jobs require either sitting or standing. There's not a lot of movement. Ourselves as a society, even our kids, you notice maybe a few decades back, kids usually used to bombard they play on playgrounds. Now you go outside and you notice playgrounds are all empty. There's nothing there. It's like a ghost. You see the swing like in a horror movie. That's pretty much the image right now. All the little kids, through adults, they're on their little smartphones or little devices playing it out. Sure, it could be some things, but it's your childhood, you know. That's when you're supposed to run experience. If you're on your smartphones, when you grow up, you're probably going to have a similar device, and then you're going to regret saying, wait, where'd my childhood go? And that can be another cause of problems. So, of course, with that lifestyle, most people either on their computer or TVs. And where are those? Are they mostly outside? No, they're mostly inside, which leads to another problem. Most people stay inside again. They don't get enough sunlight. They don't go out much. And if they do go out, they go out to eat at a fast food restaurant because they don't want to cook. And mainly, all of these things can be related to not, how do you say, no discipline, and at the same time trying to make everything as convenient as possible. And if you notice, the more convenience we have, the more we suffer for it. So there has to be a degree. That's why sometimes I like to make things a little more difficult, or at least go old fashioned. I don't like to have everything more modernized in technology, because that itself has a lot of negative effects. Sure, it's convenient, but once that convenience goes away, things become harder and much miserable. Like if you always drove in a car and now you have to ride a bike. Oh, that's horrible, man. But look, you save money, you get exercise. Two pluses. If you're always used to, even like the cars nowadays, mostly you have to click a button to open. Back then, you had to, do everything manually. Yeah, it's too much extra work. Sooner or later, if, I believe there was that movie called Wall-E, if you've seen it, where in the future everyone's like obese and then it's like a dystopia type of thing. Everyone's in this world and machines do everything for them. Well, to a certain degree, that's how society is leading more forward, and most likely that's where we could end up. The way it's not even like an exaggeration. I think it's like almost a sign to tell people, that's where you're heading for. We'll get in a little off topic for depression, but pretty much I'm just saying more modern society contributes to depression. So with life, and of course there are easier states. Depending, everyone has their own life, their own struggles, and their own outcomes, their own fate regarding life. So it could turn out differently, but overall, the way society is built, it's very difficult. It's like the world is like an ocean full of fishing hooks where all the fish swimming through. Some might get through, but most of us are gonna get caught on the hook and eaten up, taken away. That's pretty much how I like to think of life. So you have to be really careful and observant when you swim through life. Well, another problem again with modern society is we usually eat whatever we please. So we're malnourished and kind of, whatever tastes good. And many companies, they strive towards that, They even admit on record, they say, we try to manipulate the taste buds to get maximum effort. So of course, there's no wonder you get addicted. Naturally, we're addicted to sugar because back in the old days, when people were hunters and gatherers, if you see a fruit, you might not always see it, or something sweet like honey, you automatically want to eat it, and that gives stimuli. That's why it's really easy. Or, I mean, sugar has a lot of calorie and a big effect on us. But see, back then that was very limited. You don't always get that. That's why your body absorbs it quickly. Nowadays, you can go anywhere and get as much sugar, candy, cakes as you want. Now you put that in the new body, you're only supposed to have a little naturally. You have a lot, and the whole system goes out of whack. And like I said before, we don't have, hamburgers, things of that nature. Or anything even processed comes in a bag. Most stuff isn't even food, it's just edible material, plain and simple. So you eat that, you don't get your nutrients, and then your body says, well, it's taking a toll on me. Kind of the same as the negative energy, but in the sense of the food. So when you're malnourished, man, your body's going to take a toll, and you might know that. So the current state of the world, we're in a huge economic crisis. I mean, worldwide, and it might even lead to a whole global collapse, most likely. I mean, the certain patterns of the way the world works. But not only that, I mean, wars and all this negativity, especially now there's a lot of stimuli in the news, war and propaganda and all this other negativity. And then, people are scared. A lot of people during this, a lot of people are laid off or they're losing work. And everyone's kind of, they're worried about their position. Am I going to have work the next day? Or am I going to get fired, laid off? What am I going to feed my kids with? Where am I going to live? That kind of stresses, that's something in the back of everyone's mind, or at least most people. You never know. Granted, we never know what the next day will bring, but mostly see people live in this type of stress, and when that happens, they lose things. They become even more stressed. That's why you see suicide rates go up, especially when there's wars or economic crisis. So all these things lead up, and they build up stress, like I said before, and that's where you get that whole thing, and that stress becomes depression or worse. So that's the big correlation. So it seems all hopeless, but is there any good news to this? And yes, there is. Depression is treatable. That's the really big plus. And throughout the years, since I dealt with it, I have kind of come up with ways of coping and dealing with depression. Haven't fully eliminated it yet, because like I said, it's kind of a thing that keeps on to you, so you kind of have to weigh it down, push it down, and find ways around it. And that's the one of the main reasons I did this video. First was to create awareness, and secondly is to provide some tips and information to help people who are struggling with it. So if you're watching this video, hopefully, and you're dealing with depression, hopefully this will be a big help to you. So for this next part, I would like you to grab a pen or pencil, a sheet of paper or a notebook, and start writing down some of these notes. Put this somewhere where you'll remember or look at it throughout the day, because I really seriously want to help all of you out as much as I can. And I'll begin by saying, or you can write these down, as 3 major areas that affect your overall health. And that is going to be, one is very importantly, is physical exercise. We all know that. Second one will be our nutrition and intake. That doesn't just include food, that includes positivity, everything we kind of absorb into our body. Like I said, it could be negative, but we're talking about positive things we can absorb. And 3, most importantly, is probably the greatest tip of all, regardless, is your perspective on life. And right now we're going to go over, so if you want, you can either take some of these notes, like split 3 columns, exercise, nutrition, perspective, or any way you want, or just listen to the video cautiously and carefully. One of the most #1 ways of tackling depression and negative mood is just exercise, doing simple exercise. Now, however, the problem is a lot of times people who are suffering with depression, they can't even get themselves to do a normal task, so how do you expect them to exercise? They might start exercising and then they feel really horrible and depressed and they just drop the weight, and that makes them feel worse. It doesn't help them because they have no energy already. Well, if you're at that state, what I notice, and I've been at that state myself, what I notice is instead of doing something hard, start doing something really simple. And what I recommend doing instead is, if you can, find the strength in yourself, kind of block out, just go outside, regardless of anything, or even better right now, if you're at a point where you can't even exercise, you feel that bad, is put some water in the fridge, or if you have cold water, take a cold water bottle and just go outside. Instead of running or anything, just sip on cold water and then just walk around the park or walk around through the woods. Just go for a little nice hike. That itself is a form of exercise because you're walking or hiking. And that's exercise is going to relieve a lot of things, especially being out in nature. It's going to take away a lot of the negativity you have. And it really does help, like I can tell you that. Sometimes nothing in my life helps, but just doing that one simple step, getting cold water and then going outside just for a walk. No exercise, nothing, but Your body is physically doing something without you thinking, whoa, it's hard, strenuous endurance exercise. It's just simple walking, but it does. It gets your heart rate up a little bit. You're walking. And then next, once you walk, if you feel better, you can go for a little walk or, maybe just have fun around. Lift some logs or wherever kind of you see, whatever you see. Or better yet, just do some stretches, Maybe like move your arm up and down and then take some deep breaths. And then that's one way you might start recovering. Every day, start doing that. Either go morning, evening, whatever time you have. Preferably in the morning because everyone's usually sleeping. That's before work. You have more time to yourself. You don't have to worry about things. If you do it later, you're already tired, depressed, and it makes it tougher. And the way you start your morning, usually that's how your day's going to be. So if you do this early in the morning, it's really going to help you out. Now, the trick, of course, is a lot of times you might not get enough sleep if you're depressed, so you don't wake up that early. So as much as you can, try to go to sleep early. Or if not, even if you're tired, regardless, just do this one thing. Wake up and go with cold water. Even if it's 5 and you got it, and you got enough sleep and maybe like 12 or 2. Even though you're tired, that walking is still going to help you. So regardless, just do that for a week. You'll notice a big difference. Afterwards, start picking it up. Start doing a little running besides walking. Then add a few weights. But see, that time you can transition much easier into actually exercising. And if you keep moving forward with it, you're going to be able to exercise, and then your body's going to be a lot healthier. And it will manage your depression because it releases endorphins, which make you feel better overall. Or if you notice, if you run and you feel tired, you start breathing. But at the same time, there's this kind of like, you're tired, but you're enjoying being tired. You kind of have the sense of being alive. And that is really going to help you as a big tool or weapon in defeating depression, or at least putting it down to a level where it doesn't affect your life. Now for step number 2 is changes in our diet. Now we all know we have to eat healthier, eat better, but I'm talking more specifically for depression. So what I noticed is a lot of people who have depression is their brain is malnourished. It's not getting enough fats and especially omega-3 oils. So that's one big sign is if your brain's not getting enough omega-3 oils, that can also lead to depression or a low type of mood. So one thing, if you're not getting enough, so for me, I don't eat fish oil anymore because I don't really know where the fish is coming from nowadays or anything. I'm trying to go more of a plant-based diet because usually that's more helpful and it's a little cheaper. So what I recommend is get flex seeds, and better if they're grinded up because that way they can be more easily absorbed. And every day, take about 1 tablespoon of flex seeds. You can mix it up with like a banana or put it in your meal, whatever you eat. But put like 1 tablespoon of flex seeds, and then another thing I want you to get is organic virgin coconut oil. Now, of coconut oils, it produces a lot. Like I don't have a full list of it, but I just know it's a lot. You can actually go online and look. A lot of valuable nutrients and fats. One of the most nutritiously dense foods you can eat out there, and usually for weight loss, for getting good health, it helps. Coconut oil, it's like a magic oil. So you'll get a tablespoon of flex seeds, 1 tablespoon of organic coconut oil, virgin coconut oil. You would eat those daily. And also, instead of coconut oil, of course, you can eat avocados. That's really another good source of healthy fats that are going to make you feel better because your brain's finally getting the nutrient it needs. So most of the time, depression is in the mind. That's why it's called a mental illness. So if you're feeding it right, and also when I said before with the exercises, you're getting correlation. The mind and the body work together. That's why when you exercise, even a lot of philosophers back then, before you could even become a philosopher, you had to do physical exercise before you start learning philosophies, because there's a big connection. It's not just, you don't have a mind. If that was true, you would just be a head crawling around. But no, you have this whole body, full complex body with nerves. So if the body's working right, the body's getting exercise, it's moving around, the mind's going to be more concentrated, it's going to work more efficiently. So that's what I'm saying, you see. Diet and exercise, very important. And the reason it said, that's what everyone keeps saying, it's diet and exercise, diet and exercise. Yes, it's overstressed because it's true, you see? But now, thirdly is avoiding negative stimuli and your perspective on life. So now, like I said, we want to tackle the negativity in our life. Now, this is a much more difficult topic because moving, exercising, almost anyone can do, but avoiding negativity around us, it's much difficult because, see, sometimes we live in an environment we can't really change. We don't have the opportunity to move out somewhere. We don't have money, see? That's why people are stuck in a situation where they can't get help or they feel hopeless. And a lot of times is do your best to change. So a lot of times, since we can't change things we want, we have to change, or at least we cannot change our position in life. This is why we have to change our perspective of life. You see, that way, that's how you change or move to another location without actually physically moving there. It's kind of like a mental trick, but it works. And that being said, if you have negative people in your life, well, sometimes you can avoid them, right? You see negative people, you don't want to be around them, you change your friends, you don't see them. But let's say you're at work, or you're in school, you have a classroom with the same person, or even your own family members that get on your nerves, have a negative feeling towards you. You just put all this negativity. Every time you come back home, they're always negative. But you can't really change that because that's something you always see there, or your boss. Of course, granted, you can change work, but it doesn't always work. Sometimes that's the only job you have. That's why you're stuck. So one thing is kind of change your perspective about people. So when someone says something negative to you, take it with a grain of salt. Kind of go like, it's not towards you. So if someone says, like, like you suck for a reason, or, well, you get kind of the point. Something just negative that weighs you down. You start being aggressive or negative to you, or how much of a failure you are. Pretend like, wait, who are they talking about, Huh, must be the person over there, or they're just talking. Pretend their voice is like the wind. It just goes through you, not into you. Once you learn to do that, you kind of learn that their words become kind of meaningless and powerless. They don't have control over you because they just go through you. So absorb. And once they understand that sometime it has no effect on you, they might even stop or lose interest in it. And another thing that helps is a lot of time people who are negative or a little hostile to you have to understand that they themselves might be going through a struggle. They themselves might be suffering from depression or other problems in their life. And they're not trying to throw that aggression towards you exactly. It's kind of their way of coping with their own problems. So sometimes just forgiving them and trying to understand from their position helps you yourself. And if you could, maybe it doesn't work for everyone, but sometimes you can talk with them and help them overcome their depression. They might tell you their problems, and you might help them cope with it. Once they understand, you understand their problems. You might help them both, and then both of you can recover to a certain point. You have communication, and you kind of discuss what the problem is. So, like, what are you really dealing with? You can talk. Not everyone's going to listen. Sometimes people need more time. So, you can either give them that, try your best. If people are way too negative, well, you can always move out. Sometimes it's best to break ties with some people. And a lot of times there were negative people in my life, but when I talked with them more, in some way convinced them to see differently, it started to change. And we wouldn't say best friends or friends, but at least neutral. They became kind of a person I can deal with. And they were kinder, Overall, I helped them change, and for that, they were more thankful and more open. Overall, I helped them make a better person. So I think the way I see people is they need help. And sometimes if you're able to give them help or a certain way you can change them, you almost destroy the bad person. It's like that person dies and you have a new person to a certain degree instead. And that way you can also make life better for that person and your own self. So it goes a little deeper than that. Like, don't try to overthink, but mostly just try not to focus too much on what people say negative about you. Pretend it goes past you. It's never you, so you just step out the side, let the wind blow. That's how it is. And most people, they won't really care about you. especially if you're judgmental. You say, well, what are they gonna say about me? Most likely, not. Even if you're doing something pretty stupid or crazy, they might look at you because the reason they look at you, they never seen something like that. So they're like, whoa, they might look and then say, all right, well, that's his problem. Then they go on with their day. Sometimes a lot of people they feel like every single person out there is out to get them, or is looking and judging them. And things they have to understand is most people are having the same problems that you're having. And sometimes when you see it that way, and you realize that that is true, you can even talk to someone if they're open enough. But once you notice that you're not alone, you're not the only one who's suffering, having problems. Most people are having problems themselves. And they might look at you the same way. They might be shy of you or in some way, not like scared, but you know what I'm saying, like judgmental. They might think you're being judgmental to them. So in a way, you kind of become like, you see people as yourself, and that helps you out. And overall, just changing your perspective on life. Start focusing on the positive things. So instead of being negative, all the bad things, as best as you can, try to focus on what exactly you're grateful for throughout the day. So let's say right now, I'm grateful I'm able to talk. I'm great that I'm able to share my opinions or at least help some other people out. That's a positive thing for me. I have a roof over my head. Today I have something to eat, little grateful things, because the happiest people, they say, are the most grateful ones. And usually gratitude comes from your perspective. You humble yourself down and then you notice the little beauties in life. Sure, there's a lot of beauty, there's big things, big ambitions, but everyone focuses on the big thing. Who's going to focus on all the small, beautiful things out there in life? Well, I mean, you could. So most people don't do it. Why not? We make a new trend. We actually look at the small things in life. We look at the small blessings we all have every day in life. Because if you can see the blessings in the small things, you'll definitely see the blessings in the big things. And overall, no matter what happens, you kind of see it always in a positive light. That's going to help you out. And when you combine all three of those areas, like I said, you get in the right exercise, your brain, your body's getting enough nutrients, you have a different perspective on life, you're going to really more easily cope with depression. Now, see, depression for me is, it comes back. It's not like, I did all these things, yes. It sneaks up on you. Some days it might be worse, but now I'm able to almost manage it where it's never more than a day. So, in a way, you could say I overcame it, but it's still there. So maybe if you keep doing this, overall it will change. But this is a great way to start. And right now I'm going to give you more tips on or things you should do to help overcome your depression. So you can make another list if you're writing this down on paper or not, because this is going to be a short list. But make this list. You can even write it pretty big, like almost the whole paper, and then hang it on a wall, hang it on a door where you see it every single day. And best as you can, remind yourself and try to follow these. So tip number one, of course, like I said, get exercise every single day. And if you're unable to start, like I said, get some water and start walking, and then build yourself up. But every day, strive to get at least an hour of physical exercise and find something you like. You don't have to be in the gym. You can just go for a jog. You can flip rocks. You can play soccer. You can just do anything. You can even just stretch around, but something physically active that you will enjoy yourself doing. Or if you want, just look around on the internet what other people are doing. You might find something you like, or maybe join a club or something, if you could, or by yourself. All depends, but definitely do something active. Step number two, I would say, is just cut out all processed foods. Of course, they taste good, but we're trying to overcome something much more serious. And I think junk food is just taste. You have to remember that. It's food-like material, or if it is food, it's taken away of all nutrients, so you're pretty much just munching empty calories. What is it at the base of it? See, it is just taste. Once you take taste out, okay, all the junk food you like to eat right now, make it tasteless. Would you eat it then? See, you have to really think about that. No, you wouldn't still. Pretty much you're eating for taste. So if you can overcome that feeling just eating for taste, and instead eating for what your body needs, you're going to feel a lot better. So just for this, just cut out junk food and eat regular whole foods. So what I mean by that, not chips, not cookies, anything that has a nutrition label. Instead, buy stuff organic. Like just go to the produce section, get fruits, get vegetables. You can eat most of them raw. Make a salad, and the best thing is easy to prepare. You chop. Like most of my meals consist of 3 to 4 minutes, maybe a minute at most. Prepare. Sometimes all it is you wash an apple, you just pick it up and start eating it. No preparation time, no stress, no cleaning. It's super simple, and you feel better for it. So step number 3 is try to get at least 2 to 3 cups of green leafy vegetables or any type of vegetable. And instead of snacks, but fruits are also a good thing, but mostly if you're gonna work out. Instead, like if you want a snack, get some like carrots or baby carrots, something like a crunchy type of feel, and eat that instead. So anytime you want a snack, go for an apple, go for some vegetables. At first it's hard, but once you do this often, it becomes normal, and almost subconsciously you're gonna reach for the carrots or an apple instead of something else. And just kind of go with it, and overall, it will help change your life to a better way. Now, number 4 is simple but a little bit difficult for some people, and that is switching all your drinks to water. So that means stop drinking all sodas, which is very common, all juices, even natural organic juices. The reason is because when you drink juice of any type, you're drinking a liquid, but you're getting high calories. Like orange juice, for example, has a lot of calories, even you drink 1 cup, but since it's mostly liquid, yes, you do get some nutrients from it. It goes down, it doesn't make you full, so you want to eat more of it because it goes through, it's mostly liquid. Rather, if you ate an orange that has fiber in it, that helps make you full. So drinking cups of orange juice, even the really good kind with no sugar added in, versus eating a natural, just an orange by itself, gives you that fiber and other things. It actually makes you feel full while giving you the nutrients. So you kind of see where that is. Drinking makes you more hungry and helps you gain a lot more weight due to the calories. Another thing is to give up coffee. Now, there is an exception. If you're drinking like those lattes full of calories, creams, milk, and stuff, those are bad. If you're drinking coffee, you could drink, I would say, maybe 1 or 2 cups a day. Try to limit it, but it has to be pure black coffee. That means no sugar, nothing else. And personally, that's the way I like to drink my coffee. Have it cold, it's pitch black and it's a little bitter, but it has, kind of a nice effect. It's a nice little fat burner if not used too often. Maybe time to time, Some people have it every day in the morning, which is also fine, and there are some benefits to drinking coffee. So, like, it decreases some type of cancers, I remembered. Don't remember exactly which ones, but I just remember it had some good health properties. And if you don't like coffee and you want to get some of those benefits, you can try eating cocoa nibs, or it's like the cocoa bean by itself that's broken up into little nibs. You can chew it. It almost tastes like chocolate, sort of say that. So there's another alternative to that. But other than that, just stick to water and tea. Don't even drink coffee. I'm just saying, if you really need coffee in your life, you can drink, but it has to be plain coffee. Don't No sugar, nothing else. Plain, like even a cup of plain coffee, it's only 10 calories versus a latte, which can go up to like 300, 500, even 900, depending, almost 1,000 calories for something you call coffee, which is not. So if you drink enough water, you drink some healthy teas like green tea, not only does it help, but it has antioxidants, or even better than green tea, drink white tea because it has a little more antioxidants. All comes from the same plant, as well as black tea, but that's more of the lower type. They're all healthy, but the best of them all is the white tea. So green or white tea, regardless, if you drink that in the morning, you drink that in the night, overall it's going to help improve your health and help you lose some weight. Go outside, like I said. Either, you know, explore a park, explore a new area, have fun, whatever you do. Just look up at the clouds, see how beautiful they are, You might notice them. You might see a little animal or a deer or something playing outside in the forest. So that itself, is wondrous. And just being around trees, this whole environment creates this aura, type of energetic feel where you feel much better overall. And if you did it, you'll notice yourself. So really, get outside. That's bottom line. No matter what you do, get outside. Even if you live in the city, let's say, you don't really have much parks, just lay down, look up at the clouds. Get some plants in your house. Not fake artificial plants, though they might look nice, but actual real plants. Not only do they help produce better oxygen throughout your house, but something living, something green in your house is going to help boost your mood up. So there's definitely something there. Number 6, like I said before, limit your exposure to negativity. So avoid negative people. If you ever find them, avoid negative news and try not to really focus too deeply on the world's affairs. There are many of them. It's a big concern. There are problems. But, do your best part to be a better human being and focus on the bright side instead. Be indifferent to negative people. Like I said, whatever they say to you, pretend it doesn't go to them. If they're being negative, they're kind of being negative in their own way. So kind of like strive towards them. Any negativity, like almost form a bubble around them. They're in their own bubble, they're shouting negativity. Could be at them themselves, you could say. Or see it this way. When a person says something negative about you, pretend he's talking to his own self. So when it says, you're stupid and useless, for example, you see how funny that looks? He's saying that to himself. But for you, it's going to kind of help you out to ignore him. You're not going to get angry. And you're not going to take it to heart. So, okay, you said that, so be it. That's for him. And overall, that's going to help you cut out all that negativity from people, as well as other things. Okay, number 8, take deep breaths every day. So when you wake up, try to breathe deep. So try to get at least 10 breaths or until you feel comfortable throughout the day, but mostly in the morning. Just stretch your body, get it moving, and before you go to sleep. Those deep breaths do make a difference. That's what I notice most people, they say in yoga, any type of breathing, even martial arts, even just to be healthy, breathe deep. When you're doing exercise, when you're pushing, push out, breathe in on the easy parts. See, there's a reason for that as well. Oxygen, or air, so to say, is even what some people consider chi. It's like life energy. So breathing is very important. So you're not breathing enough, or you're shallow breathing, you're not getting enough life energy in some cases. So just breathe deeply and appreciate. And number 9, like I said, is just try not to overthink about life too much. You don't know how it is, and nobody's going to remember any of this in 100 or so years, maybe even less. So just let things go, breathe in, and then see everything with gratitude. Instead of negativity, try to focus as much as you can on all the good things you have every day, and keep reminding yourself. It's kind of like taking a bath. You go, boom, boom, every time kind of bathe yourself in all the positive things. And once you do that, you'll be clean. You'll push depression, you'll push negativity away, and you'll actually be able to move forward in life and actually enjoy life. So that's what I feel. Those 9 tips, the 3 causes, and the 3 major areas to focus on. So those are the 9 tips and the 3 major areas that I guys want you to focus on. So again, to remind, is exercise, proper nutrition, and your perspective. Now you combine it with the 9 steps. Try to, appreciate life, like I said. Go on, be positive. And overall, so for now, take all those tips if you took it on paper, hang it on a wall right now, and then I want you to follow all those steps you took for at least a week. At most, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks, a month. In a month, if you're able to follow this, even a week, I would say, I guarantee you'll feel results if you did everything on that list. I can say, over life, that's what I did. I started looking things up. I started changing my ways. And these are the tips that helped me the most. And that's what I'm sharing with you. The reason I say I can guarantee they work is because they work for me really well. You can say, I was at a point in my life where I was going to almost end my life. But somehow I found a glimpse of hope. And I was able to overcome it. And thank God, and hopefully I'm still here and alive today making this video. So overall, just take the positive things to heart. All the negative things, just push them out. Even like this, you can do this exercise. Breathe in something positive. Let's say right now it's a sunny day, so breathe that in. Now take something you don't like let's say negativity. You lost your favorite, let's say you lost $10. You breathe that out. It doesn't matter, let it go. Breathe in something positive, let go of something negative. And just keep doing that when you breathe. And overall, that should help you guys. So thank you for watching, and may peace be with you always. Take care, and God bless.